But right now, I want to turn our attention to the National Trust, if we may, Britain's largest membership organisation. And unfortunately, it's come under fire from both visitors and the press for covering up paintings and sculptures of men at a grand Northumberland stately home. Why? Well, it's as part of a celebration of the role of women. Artworks associated with chaps at Cragside were veiled in sheets and plastic bags. That's what I would have got for you, Kevin. You wouldn't get a sheet, you get a plastic bag.
Okay.
As part of a project condemned as ridiculous by some visitors. The Trust received over £100,000 as a government grant from Victoria Atkins, Minister for Women, to promote its Women and Industry programme at Cragside, as well as two other projects. Cragside is the first house in the world to be lit by hydroelectricity and was built in the late 1800s by the industrial magnate Lord William Armstrong. And they basically got in touch with some artists and they designed an installation that they wanted to highlight the role of Lord Armstrong's wife Margaret and other female members of the household and women workers in William Armstrong's factories. The Trust so the Trust went along with it, covered up all the male busts, and then were inundated with complaints from visitors to the house, which has a large collection of pieces from the 17th and 18th centuries. They went to TripAdvisor and the social media sites to criticise the great Cragside cover-up. And yet, you've got, one of the comments here, Kevin, Sharon Wilkinson, I think this was from the Telegraph, she said, believing the only way to put women forward is to put men backwards is mad. A fella, Jim Herbert, complained, having paid a touch under 50 quid to get in, it is disappointing not to be able to see the whole collection. But then there are voices of support out there. I can name a couple of artists. Harriet Sutcliffe, she said before the opening, she hoped by concealing some of the male objects and artefacts that it might shift the lens slightly so that these women would have the space for 3 weeks to shine. And Kate Stobart, another artist involved, said covering up some of the male images will transform how the house looks and bring out the lack of representation of women.
Well, you see, it seems to me to be very, very silly, but if that's what they want to do, I don't think it's a big deal. But the reason it's become something of a big deal is this is part of a syndrome. Critics say the National Trust is becoming politically correct to an absurd degree.
Do you remember the story? I did this.
Well, there's the Easter egg hunt, which became the orb hunt or something, and then the staff, volunteers, were required to wear rainbow.
That's right. This is a story I covered a lot on the television. It's Felbrig Hall, I think. It's in Norfolk, and the National Trust run a Prejudice and Pride campaign designed to highlight how gay people, how they'd contributed to the wonderful buildings that we enjoy. Anyway, they took it upon themselves to out Robert Wyndham Ketton-Creamer, who bequeathed Felbrig Hall. They outed him as gay to the fury of his godchildren and historians who demanded to know why the National Trust had decided to do this. And then it later emerged that volunteers had been told they had to wear gay pride rainbow badges, or they were sort of condemned to work in the dungeons.
And lots of them refused, by the way. So that's what this story's about. It's another, according to critics, another case of National Trust madness.
I'll get round to what the National Trust said a little later. We did invite them many times over the course of today to join us, but they declined. So let's instead speak to the charming art critic and lecturer Estelle Lovatt. Afternoon, Estelle.
Hello, I've been so looking forward to this. Have you got your head covered, by the way?
Well, it's interesting you should say that. I'm speaking through my dust sheets now.
Yeah, we're very sorry that we're men.
I know.
Actually, I'm going to stir things up, Estelle. I thought the two comments that I gave from the artists, Harriet Sutcliffe and Kate Stobart, I thought were both very fair, that by covering up the men, we put the spotlight on the women.
Well, men are not obsolete, nor do real women want them to be obsolete. The fact that they've just done this to these statues and works of art doesn't honour men. It doesn't honour women. It, in fact, mourns men, and it mourns the fact they're actually, half of us are men and half of us are women. We need to educate people. Can I come along, and if I don't like a painting that's got a woman with grey hair, can I come along and paint her blonde? We've sort of gone from Me Too, the hashtag Me Too. This has got to be hashtag Me Stupid. It's absolutely ridiculous.
But Estelle, I'm thinking, I have no idea what the proportion of artworks would be, but as we've come through a male-dominant millennia, it would be fair to say that I would assume the vast majority of artworks in both this stately home and many others will have been done by men. And in order to perhaps show the work that women have done, the easiest way, rather than sticking, I don't know, luminous signs saying this painting's been done by a woman or this table was cleaned by a woman, we actually cover up the male statues so that nobody has to do that. We can see the contribution women made. I can't believe I'm doing this. Devil's advocate, Estelle.
But you know what? The thing is that throughout the course of art history, women have had their role behind great artists. It doesn't matter what period you take. If you look at Picasso, for example, you know, he wouldn't have created half the works he did without a great woman or two.
True, several.
You know, he was a bit of a
woman or 10.
boy. Yeah, you know, paintbrush in his hand, sex on the brain.
Yep.
But, you know, without that, we wouldn't have the great artworks. And this is absolutely ridiculous. Why not invite these contemporary artists, these women that have, rather than putting bags on statues, you know...
but isn't that... Sorry, Estelle, isn't that an act of art in itself? That if normally you'd go into that stately home and to a Neanderthal like me, I would just see boring old oil paintings of boring old people who probably ruled their boring old land to the detriment of the peasants that served under them, because that's how art seems to be. That's the history. The great rich people, they could hire the painters to paint the portraits of them ruling over the rest of us. Now you go into one stately home and all the fellas that repressed all the people for all those years are covered up with plastic bags. I quite like that.
But, you know, why not make statues of perhaps what the women and the wives look like? Why not paint imaginary portraits? What's the point of covering up the ones that exist? It does nothing to promote women at all.
Does it not?
I was going to throw in that we've got a planet to save. Why are they using plastic? Plastic pollution is a serious problem.
I was going to say that as well. You know, and also the message it gives is actually the men underneath are nothing but rubbish. That's the indication it gives, because to me, plastic is what waste goes into now. Okay, you know, we're trying to save the planet. We're trying to save the seas. Plastic is very harmful. So is this art exhibit to say that men are harmful? No, the purpose of it, as far as I could tell, was to say that women need more prominence and need more respect. This does not do it.
But Estelle, do you think that there's a to take a sort of serious line on it, do you think there's an element of kind of a fundamentalism and the covering up of art in the way that ISIS destroy great works of art and Hitler burnt books? Do you think there's something of that about this?
Whoa!
Hang on a sec, you're absolutely right. You know, the thing is, when ISIS destroys works of art, that's because they have no respect for culture or civilization.
Ooh.
When Hitler destroyed works of art, it's because he felt as though it didn't promote the blue-eyed, blonde-haired, which always is odd to me because he was black-haired and brown-eyed, you know.
Yep.
So, but a failed painter he was, a failed painter. But the thing is, I think if you want to promote women and maybe to cover up the men, why not use something feminine like a blanket or a shawl? Think about how mothers...
Oh, that sounds like sexist stereotyping to me.
Well, no, I'm sorry. Much more satisfactory than a plastic bag. I mean, absolutely ridiculous.
But my point being is there's always something disturbing about the censoring of art. Do you agree?
Well,
absolutely. Art shouldn't be censored. If you put a censorship ban on art, then really we have no role as human beings. Through art is how we have a conversation. Through visual aesthetics, we don't even need to speak the same language, but we all get the meaning through an image or through a sculpture. And it's the way that we've communicated since time immemorial. Think about toddlers' books. They don't have words, they have pictures.
Oh, I don't want to think about them just yet, if that's all right. I'd rather deal with proper books without pictures in them. Can I read you this? This is from someone I think they're trading on Twitter under the name Funk. And, dear Matthew, what we're observing is rabid postmodernism, which ironically birthed through art prior to its current modernisation. Covering up the statues is stupid virtual signalling. It takes away from this female project at the National Trust. Do you agree with that rabid postmodernism line?
Well, you know what? The funny thing is that all artists try and be the first to do anything new. And in order to be a good conceptual artist, you have to be a good conceptual artist. And if the idea is stuck in the artist's mind and doesn't reach the audience, then it's failed. Now, some people will turn around and say it doesn't matter if people don't get the artist's intention, that's the public's fault. But the thing is, I don't know if the artist's intention was completely well thought out to start with. And I would love to see these artists do something again, but with a little bit more thought about the end result and how we can raise the appreciation and respect for women.
Okay.
As I say, let's stop it from #MeToo to gone now, as I say, #MeStupid.
All right, let me give you this is I said the National Trust. We invited them to put on anybody they wanted for this programme all morning. Britain's biggest membership organisation couldn't find anybody to do an interview. They did give a statement to one of the papers there. An unnamed Trust spokesman, they say, it is not unusual for some people to dislike or disagree with what they see in contemporary art. This was not about censoring art or being politically correct, but to encourage people to look at the collection differently and stimulate debate. Job done?
No! All you can see is a plastic bag.
Yes, yeah, but hang on, Estelle. We could go down and look at Tracy Emin's bed, and I would say all I see is a dirty bed put together by someone who's been paid way too much for her contribution to British society and the world of art. It's just a made-up bed.
Matthew, you've got it all wrong, my boy. You've got it all wrong. In fact, Tracy Emin's unmade bed is her greatest work of art because it's not an unmade bed, it is a self-portrait. Okay?
What I should do is
she's not in it.
I should put a plastic bag on it.
But no, of course not.
It'll have to be a bin liner.
No, but that's my conceptual art. I'm conceptualising how it would be Tracy Emin's bed if I made it myself as a statement of male repression, the feelings of male repression in postmodernist 21st century Britain. Put a plastic bag on it, claim it's mine, get paid $500,000, disappear into the sunset.
But you know what? Well, you can't disappear into the sunset. It's already been done before. When she was an exhibit at the Turner Prize, we had a couple of conceptual artists who went into the gallery and jumped on it and used it as a sort of a playground. Yeah. So, you know, if that's already been done before, that's plagiarism anyway. You're about that. Make your own work of art. What's wrong with your bed?
Oh, don't it's full of fleas.
How long have you got?
It's a story for another day, but the flea man's coming in on Thursday apparently to sort them out. Estelle Lovatt, a joy talking to you, an absolute joy talking to you.
We'll have to get Estelle on the next book of prizes, won't we?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Got to go into the studio.
Definitely.
She's got just the right degree of irreverence to make me she turns me on to modern art, I have to say.